Here. Hauser. Here. Cavillo.
Here.
Anderson. Here. Smith.
Here.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same, opposed? Unanimous. We typically at this point allow for communication from the public. If we have anyone who would like to address the board. And by the way, you students, there's a form there that you can fill out. I'm sorry, I should have done this before.
I don't think they're students.
Oh, there was a student. You're a student. No.
No students.
Okay, we don't have any.
You get the RA people look
You're all students.
I said RA.
Okay. Sarah, we just started, so you're good. Any communication from anyone in the public? We don't have any items on the future item agenda at this point that would need more time for you to absorb. So we'll go ahead now and go to number 5, which is the facility update.
Okay, you notice board on the attachment gave a quite extensive update about a lot of things that happened at Webster. The lab is basically done. Remember, we renovated a lab that we needed for a preschool classroom. High school fitness center. It's nice that the footings went in last week, and there's block going up, so we're finally we get to see some progress there. Gym lobby restrooms are semi-done. I know they were really scrambling, but we kind of wanted to have them open last week for the volleyball match, and they were sort of open. Some of them were open with doors on them that are not the actual ones, but they were usable, at least half of them, is my understanding.
Oh, they use them all. They use them all.
Even if they're open?
Yep.
But they are so much nicer. I can't wait for people to see them though, especially when that thing gets done. They are very classy. The lobby there in between the two gyms has been painted and the new lights have been installed. Again, it's kind of limited use as that's still considered a construction zone. The north gym locker rooms, the showers, individual showers were completed, and epoxy coating on the floors and the walls have been completed. The north gym balcony, those bleachers were removed, and I think about 2 weeks, John?
September 16th, they shipped.
16th are to be shipped, and then hopefully within a couple of weeks, I think we'll get those in.
Yep.
Accurate?
And then the changes to the railings to make them safer is
Was completed. So don't sit in rows 3 and 4. I remember from last year. Watch with you up there. Warning. How I seem to sit there. The ductwork is moving along. Again, if you recall that work though will go through next summer. Right now, the urgent areas are the upstairs. So basically, you can have those things completed and heated for the wrestling and basketball seasons. Of course, the safety entrances at Webster and the high school have not started. And again, that's as planned. We knew that would not happen until about winter break. Homestead, again, is basically torn down. In this note, I had told you that additional asbestos was found in the west tunnels. And as of today, there was even more additional. John, if you can give us an update on the asbestos issues that we're having.
Well, I can assure you, so like Eric said, they're not bringing it in at night just to take it out there and say, but boy, it seems like it. Okay, so if you remember the original asbestos did come in 48.8. We had the understanding that there was asbestos coating on the footings on the west end, that was going to be a immediate change order once they start demolition. Demolition was going to take care of it. That came in at a cost not to exceed $18,000. They had a pretty good breakdown, told us what things were going to be, so there's a chance they come in less.
Is this the new one? Sorry, I thought it was not to exceed 12,000.
We'll get there.
Okay.
As they went through, there's some additional asbestos found in the roofing materials, basically some flashings, and then some transite board around the top. So To remove that, it was 2775. Then there was some asbestos found in, they weren't even tunnels, they were like pipe chases. To get to that, basically I had to wait till the building was down, saw cut it, and pull it out from there. That added 24,770. Then they found some pre-stone, or Chris tile on the west end. They used it for paper barrier. Guys have been doing this all their lives, and I've never seen that before. Unfortunately, seem to hear that a lot around here. There's a lot of, we've never seen that before in the district. But to get that taken care of, it's going to be a not to exceed 12,000. And then this afternoon, please tell me I got it. If anybody remembers Olmsted, where room 21 and 22 were, it was like the old part of the building. Across the hall would have been 2 other classrooms, but they got taken down to put the media center in. Never seen it done this way before, but they put a little bit of fill in and poured a concrete slab of the media center on top of it. So when they got to pulling that media center slab out, they found a slab with carpet and 9x9 asbestos tile. So that's got to come up. That had a not to exceed, say that was a spending one because there's a lot of materials got to come out, 30,000. So, had everything together, it was a whole bunch of money. The hard part of this was some of it we knew we were going to find when they did the roof because we didn't want to be punching a bunch of holes in the roof during school. So that way until June, it wasn't a total surprise that they found some. The cruise tile and the, whatever you want to call it, the room under a room, that I don't think anybody's looking for, but they're ready to get that pulled out. They get that approved, and then get their that's not it. Then we can get their permit and get the rest of that concrete out. I can try to answer your questions.
You think this is it? Sorry, I don't want to
This
do it.
is the last bit of concrete in here. It's got to be. Unless they dig in the backyard and find something buried back there, but,
In the coal mine.
well, you gotta go a little deep to get to that, but we did have a bus barn back there and it got tore out, but it could be the same thing where they just pushed dirt over it. But I'm not gonna guarantee. I'm not gonna take that leap. I didn't expect the last 2 of these. So.
Thanks.
The last thing under this board is the Internal Committee is created with Venus Health. We've sent out and it's still out there an application. We're trying to have a cross representation on the naming committee. So we thought we literally will have to draw names out once we see people from certain categories to make sure we have a broad representation. And it's very likely that all others will be able to give feedback in maybe the form of a potential survey with that part.
How many people are going to be on
It's about 20, 22, something.
We're ballparking 16.
16.
Right now we have 27 responses, so
it? Okay.
people are interested. Mhm.
And then, I'm sorry if this is, in the notes I forgot, what's the goal? Like, for
Ultimately-
the end of the process?
Ultimately, in December, if we stay on schedule, that committee will bring forth a recommendation to the board for approval of a name.
Of this year?
Of this year.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? So we'll move into the action items. First one is the approval of the language arts middle school and the PE curriculum. Go ahead, Chris. Just for the sake of people who are watching at home, the process is that they've gone through this, reviewed, tried to match up the standards to what we're teaching. Process typically takes a year. And then we have a 5-year period. So we'll go ahead and approve the curriculum. Is there a motion?
So
And so there's quite a bit of effort that goes into these revisions, and they are ongoing at all times. Does anyone have any questions about anything that's on there? Okay, may I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, very good. The next action item is to approve some alterations to the current elementary handbook, which I think are mostly in blue in the document.
And I know Elisa's here and she was a big part of that. I think most changes are deleting items where Olmsted was mentioned. I think it's probably 98% of it.
Questions? Okay. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one is also unanimous. Excuse me. The next item is to establish dates for quotes and times of those meetings for the FFE, the fixtures, furnishings, and equipment contracts.
Catherine, I did have a question.
Mhm.
So I was very pleased to see, I recall we estimated $1 million for this, if I recall, and I was pleased to see the numbers came in well under $1 million. It does note additional costs may be paid from the capital projects or PEPAL funds as needed. And I was just wondering if there were any additional costs to expect, and if so, what would those be? Since we had budgeted $1 million.
Fair.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so in looking at the overall budget, we had established a $1.125 million FF&E component for your building. Now that is not inclusive of every last item that's in the project, like ladders and other, miscellaneous type things. But what we did was we broke that down into several categories. One being furniture, which is your largest expense out of that. The other two, window treatments and room signage. And those three are the ones that DLR is managing on behalf of the district, and that's what we're going to take quotes for here next month. The other components that we were holding within that is playground equipment for removal, reinstallation from the old homestead, and then going back into the new property. And in addition to that, you'll need some new equipment that will go along with the previous stuff. And then also some rubber surfacing that would be underneath the pre-K playground area. Then the last component, which is a little bit of that fluctuation and reference to the your PEPAL function AV and security. So we don't have security cameras inside the building at this point. The same thing with AV. So we've allotted for the infrastructure for TVs and projectors and all that kind of stuff. But all those items are district purchased. So we have held a dollar amount there, which is kind of fluctuating between that and the furniture category, because working with Mary Beth, you do have some other, other funding sources for that component. And that wasn't necessarily what we were, it wasn't our goal to kind of hold that for that, since we were working with the furniture. But since I felt that we had a little bit of a buffer, I opted to kind of help you guys out and put some money in there. So that's kind of when we get to that, get to those numbers for the furniture, window treatment, and room signage on October 9th, that'll kind of be the fluctuation, if you want to call it, the contingency area. So.
Okay, when you add in audio, video equipment, and those other things you mentioned, what does the cost then look like?
Yeah, I don't know what your overall cost is, because I don't know what the district can purchase.
Okay.
I know you can get TVs and projectors and copiers for much less than what you would normally retail buy them for.
We haven't
So I
set
don't-
that,
Yeah,
we
so I
haven't
don't-
detailed that out, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is this enough time? Yeah, it's a month from today.
Yeah, yeah, so for any bid period, same thing with the elementary or the high school project. 4 weeks is plenty of time for this, especially on the furniture side. So these are all quotations, which means they don't meet the bidding threshold of public bidding.
Okay.
The state establishes kind of 3 tiers for that. So you're within the quotation standpoint, and the scopes of these are each much less than what your building was, and those were conducted in a 4-week period. So we know most of the costs for the furniture just based on its quotation pricing. There's fine details that change, every week, just doing the design work, and then the installation and the freight delivery. So, but we'll have all that quoted and bid out to you, and then that will be held until it'll be up to the furniture manufacturers whether or not they manufacture it up front and store it, or whether they hedge their bets and manufacture it at a later date so that they can deliver it in time for the building to be done. So that's their choice. Every company kind of does a little bit different.
Anything else?
I move to approve the quotation date for fixtures, furniture, and equipment contracts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you again. Okay, now we have 9.
Miscellaneous policies, again, over basically last year, I tried to go through every single past policy in primer, and we're basically up to date. There was some 800 series yet that were updated in the last year as well, and I decided I might as well sit on those because yet this year the board will be going through the 800 and the 900 series. So I just pushed those back, and we'll do those at the time you do the 800s. If you look at these, there's only one brand new, and that's authority of the board. Otherwise, these are really minimal changes. If you look, a lot of them I really, even reading it, I couldn't tell the difference between. It's just new language, but I think the content is awfully close in all.
Is it standard practice to have a policy on the authority of the board if we just didn't have one? Or this was the recommendation from?
It was just an ISB recommendation.
Oh, I see.
I
thought it made sense,
Yeah, what I do is I go through ISB periodically, does updates based on changes in legislation, based on legal counsel tells them. So I guess they never share it. It's new for us, is all I can say. I can't say about the other districts have had it or not, but we did not have it. So that's why we really didn't have a number to squeeze it in, and it's 203A.
Catherine, will we need to approve these all separately, or will it take one vote for these?
Whichever we'd like. I debated here whether to go through them all with the fine-tooth comb. How do we feel about that?
I read them and I didn't personally have any issues with them.
Okay, I didn't either.
They all seem pretty
Okay,
uncontroversial changes.
so can we do them as a group?
Yes.
203A, and there's a misplaced in dash.
Give it to Loya.
You'll get a chance, and I'll make that correction.
I feel like
Third
you
paragraph.
gotta put something in there just to make sure Mark's
Yeah.
on top of it.
Actually,
Yeah.
Third paragraph, what?
First sentence. The board has these powers, and then any broad and applied powers. Misplaced in dash.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Nicely done. Okay, board reports. Before we go into this, most of you know that there's an election coming up, November 5th, combined with the city council election. And 4 of us on the board are moving either off the board or running again. The filing for that, just as a matter of public record, since this is being filmed, the filing deadline is the 19th at 5 p.m. with Mary Beth. as our board secretary. Most of the data can be downloaded for people who are interested online through the,
Polk County Auditor.
yeah.
And just as of today, if anybody goes to our website, we put it right there on the front page as well. If they go to the board, on another location, trying to make it very
So they can
accessible.
contact me too.
So there is potential that 4 of us would not be here later, which has caused some, it's just a weird timing this year because it's been combined with the city council. Otherwise, it's usually settled before this. And so just wanted to publicize that. Unfortunately, the ISB conference, which we all really like to attend, is like the 3rd weekend in November, and the election is the 1st week. And so we hope that we will be able to change people out if we need to, whoever, puts in a reservation. The good thing about that is that this is a statewide issue. And so some flexibility obviously is going to have to be built in from ISB. The other question is, did we select a delegate?
Not yet.
Okay. So that would probably be good if it were someone that we know is going to be on the board. 1, 2, 3.
I don't think I can, unfortunately.
You did it, right?
Yeah, I've done it the last 2 years.
It basically takes up half a day.
Yeah, the delegate meeting is on the 19th or so.
Is it the first day of the conference?
Yeah.
I think, I always thought, was it 3 days or is it the second?
I would trade with you guys, but I feel like that's Jason.
I know it's 9 to 12 or until adjournment, is what they say. I'm guessing it must be on.
There's the first day is
Tuesday.
workshops, and then there's
Which is
2 conference
Wednesday.
days, or 1 conference day.
Yes.
It's half of the workshop day.
Okay.
It's Thursday
So it
morning.
was-
You could put my.
Delegate must be Wednesday.
Sounds like we have a solution.
But I know that.
So that's at the table. I think
Okay, so can I have a,
Stacy, I think you like it.
Do you?
I do.
Are you just
Try to contain
lying
yourself.
me?
No.
Okay, I will do it, and if, somebody who is on the board, would wish to do it again, we could work that out probably,
Okay,
unless
so-
the board needed to vote.
so we have a motion to nominate Stacy to do
I'll
that?
nominate Stacy. Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
So,
you.
as far as sign up, even though I know a couple of you told me you are flat not coming back, I'm still not making that decision, so everyone's name is on there. And if you look at your schedules and you plan to attend, please just put little X's in the boxes where you're interested. And again, if you go to, I think you get the papers that I do from ISB, so there's some documentation out there. Those are listed, the pre-conference 2 activities as well as the financial ones that I know a lot of you enjoy going to. And again, once I get them back from you or from everyone, then we'll get everybody signed up.
Oh, I did have a question, I don't know if you would know the answer to this. IASB typically does early bird registration fees, and unfortunately, that may not work out. Are they going to be waiving or reducing fees in light of the situation?
They are, I talked to someone and they are, they understand
Oh,
that, they have everything.
Do you think they're gonna move the conference?
Yeah, 'cause
I don't
Not this year, I mean like in the
I
it's
don't
future.
every
know.
2 years.
I don't know. Good question.
Very awkward.
Well, I guess we'll see how it goes if they wanna change. Cause I know, why they changed this,
Yeah, I don't-
but it's gonna complicate a lot of things, so maybe it won't go well until we move it back.
It'll be hassle for them as well. Yes.
Thursday morning.
Well, in Urbandale, there's gonna be like 8 ballots because of the different school districts within.
Okay, superintendent's report. Employee engagement and well-being.
Just if you recall, this information was placed in the board materials from the last board meeting. And Mr. Greif is here. If you have any additional questions.
I guess my question here, and like, what in this are you happy about, and what in this keeps you up at night? Because there's a lot to
That's
digest.
a big question.
I'm sorry. I just want to know like what you see in here as kind of successes or red flags.
I would say there's a couple things. One of them is getting, as I've come on board, getting the district's perspective on just well-being overall and the participation of our employees in a well-being program. So quite honestly, the last few years, we've connected with Wellmark to do some challenges for as kind of an engaging way to have folks think about Wellness Wednesday emails, just different small things. And the participation, I would say, has been spotty. And we haven't had a lot of employees that have fully participated. So I think one of the things that we're going to move forward on is, and there'll be more to come on this, is trying to figure out through some sort of needs assessment more details as to not only what we can do to get more participation in thinking about well-being and wellness, but what is it that our employees want and need that is a better match. So that's one thing. I think another is if you look at the results of our Q12 employee engagement results, in that document, down towards the bottom, there are some overall celebrations that we have as a district, but then there are some areas that I think we know we need to continue to work on. For instance, my opinion, seeing Takata work is a low item for the district as a whole, and we continue to investigate why that is and what we can do, what actions can we take to help improve that. I know that the key piece of that, if you look down at the bottom, is results rollout. Building department leaders conduct Q12 results rollout sessions across the district. And what that means is that we have a process that we share in all departments and all buildings about, for our high results, to celebrate them, for our low results, what can we do better? And getting feedback from our staff, and then determining with leadership teams, what are 1 or 2 actions that we can take at that building level or department level that will really help us move the needle in the right direction in regards to having highly engaged employees. You can see one of the things that just overall results is that our percent took a bit of a step back this year after 3 years of growth. So we know it's an issue that's going to stay very important for us to keep our eyes on what it is that we can do differently. So those are a couple of big areas, I think, that we're going to continue to focus on.
One of the things I feel like we miss, maybe just like with the board schedule, is something like in between this year of reports about what the results roll out, what the products are from that. What he was saying, listening to how to address some opportunities for improvement and selecting like 2 tactics to implement. And what are those?
You're saying what?
Well, the first
That's what I'm
answer
saying.
is if you look at the strategic plans and the plan on a page,
That's where it'll end up.
every department, every building has strategic plans to address various goals. So that's the first place
Yeah.
we'll see from all the feedback we currently have. And then we do other things that aren't all listed in goals. learning circles where we get feedback directly from people. The rounding is in itself a piece where we get all kinds, but
Yeah.
you will initially see in the plan on the pages, that's where you'll initially see the plans as of right now, what people plan to do.
I guess I'm just curious, connecting that, because the strategic plan is related to a lot of different initiatives or goals or opportunities for improvement, but like directly connecting what this report to what those strategies will be. I mean, that's just kind of what I'm.
And I don't think we necessarily have that for the board, other than the plan on the page is meant for the board to see that connection. Because as you said, we have lots of goals at the district level, and then we also make sure that they filter in the building levels and the departments. Having said that, some departments and buildings score better than others, so it's not their first priority to do something in that area. They won't be consistent because of that. We score different departments and different buildings.
I don't think that's, I think, if I'm understanding what you're asking like, what is the response to,
Yeah.
did I answer your question? Because I was,
No.
okay.
It said where I can find it.
What's the action plan?
Yeah, what's the plan to respond? Yes, and it's not any strategic plan necessarily.
Well, it's first share with the staff at rollouts. That's the purpose of the rollout, to share with our staff so everybody knows you've been heard, and now here's what we plan to do about it.
But they're saying they haven't been heard, Steve, if you read the, like, or they're saying in Q07 that.
I realize that, but some people don't understand that that is part of the process of being heard. And again, you can't address every single person's concern, because A, you can't follow up on it. As this board knows a couple of years ago, when you look at the data, you kind of sometimes are left, what does that mean? That's why we do everybody in the whole district gets rounded every year multiple times. It's trying to get at those things.
I think maybe rounding hasn't proved effective or entirely effective. So as something in addition to rounding, I'm not saying get rid of rounding, but I think that's shown to have not been fully effective. So I think we're looking for something more. It really does dishearten me and bother me to see these numbers like this.
I have a complete other concern, and I brought this up, this will be the third year, with the well-marked data. And this is not blame or, it's just a deep concern for me, and given my professional background and yours, it's a deep concern. And so I put together some charts.
Are you talking about
The well-marked data on chronic conditions. So what I did yesterday was I went through those numbers and I looked at the percentage where we exceed the norm. So basically the bottom line of that graph is the book, whatever they call it, whatever that is. Whatever data that they have. And these percentages are the percentages in gold that we are over, that percentage of the norm. And the blue is the percentage over the school norm book. I'm deeply concerned that these are diagnoses from our population that we cover. This is hard data, it's not survey. And it's not getting better. In fact, in some ways it's getting worse. And it's deeply concerning to me. I don't know what to do about it, and even if I did, that's not my job. But I just want to reiterate for the third year in a row, which has nothing to do with you, Lauren, or anyone here, something in our system is not working. And this isn't even all of our people, it's only the people that are covered by the insurance. And I'm particularly alarmed at the rate of anxiety among our staff, and how that's going. And, you know, from my background, depression, when people are depressed, that's anger that they turn inside. The anxiety increase, I think, is fear turned inside. And if one of our premises is that we are driving out fear from Deming, something's not working. And I don't know what the answer is, but I am, again, deeply concerned, and I may have to have a private conversation about this because systemically we're not doing well. And we can't say, well, you know, it's a problem in all the schools because our average is over all the other schools. And it's over everybody that Wellmark insures. So it's on my heart and I have to say it. So it's out there and I hope it's better. I hope it's getting better because right now it's not. And thanks for listening.
So if I may ask a follow-up question, how do we, in your experience, I want to encourage people and our staff to get help for any mental health issues. I think mental health is equally as important as physical health. We all know that. How do we encourage them to seek help, but at the same time reduce rates?
That's a very good question because, I think, very difficult to answer because of the nature of how private getting and seeking help is, and the uniqueness, I think, of those that seek it and the reasons that they are willing to or not willing to. And which is what makes, I think part of what makes it, to Catherine's point, hard to answer and very complex. However, it doesn't mean that we, as an organization, don't keep trying to figure out what impact we can make, which I think part of is making as accessible as possible the resources that we have. And then I think also trying to do as good a job as we can at pinpointing the needs that we have, even though they're individual needs, trying to make them as comprehensive as possible to put a dent in what these numbers are. That's really not a good answer probably, but
There's probably not a good answer to it, more not that, I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's all right. I mean, I can tell you it's confounding to, even if you go back to the Q12, it's, in my opinion, it's kind of work. We've wrestled with this for a few years on trying to provide get enough clarity around what our folks, when they answer disagree to that, with us taking some actions over the past couple of years, specific actions, is it that they don't understand what their opinions count at work means? Does it mean something different to them than it does to us? Is getting the answer no mean that they're viewing, whoever is viewing that my opinion doesn't count, is listening enough? Like all these questions keep coming up. And I think around the topic of anxiety and depression, some of those things that are alarming and frustrating to some extent, because we know that those that are suffering are that is an impact then on not only their own families, but the kids that they serve. So it's a vitally important, these questions are really important for us to be able to answer so that we can take the right actions. And with that said, I don't exactly know what the most comprehensive action is right now.
And you shouldn't, that's not why I brought it up.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah.
Because you'd be paid a lot more.
Probably.
But realistically, somehow we have from the outside, the top down, wherever, we have to figure out a way that they do feel, our employees do feel more validated and heard and comfortable expressing, because I think if that comes into play, then some of these percentages will start to drop. So is it being, I know we're looking at it, but maybe if we've been looking at it in one manner for the last few years, maybe we need to change that up, or maybe somebody from the outside needs to.
Well, and what I mentioned earlier would be, or is a potential outside look, working with Wellmark to take a much more deep dive into this over the course of a few years actually, and then come up with additional strategic actions that maybe we can get assistance with. So.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Well, that is not an action item, that was information. Preliminary enrollment is encouraging. The reason why our lovely ladies from Karen Acres and Jensen are here is maybe to fill us in on how the fun's been going. So maybe one or all of you could visit with us about that. I would be, major transition.
Was this strategic to ask us after the anxiety talk? I'm back here.
Take a deep breath.
No.
How's it going?
It really is. We don't want to, share, give an impression that there have not been challenges, because there definitely have been. We talked about those things that we anticipated, that we've been planning for months. We feel like we got this. We were right on. We were glad that we had thought of those things, but then there are other things, the unanticipated things that will continue to occur really throughout the entire year. As recent as we've got 60 volunteers coming tomorrow from United Way. Where are we going to meet before, when we welcome them? We either meet outside or in a hallway somewhere. But just things like that we aren't expecting, that we have to be creative in the type of space we use for those things, to keep those traditions alive with what we do.
So we kind of split up our thoughts into things that are going really well and things that have surprised us, unanticipated things we're still working through. So we'll kind of go through our biggies, and we'll just be transparent, honest, but still want to convey that we have got this, and we are relying on each other day and night to make this work.
So if I can speak on, behalf of Karen Acres, the extreme positives have been the families coming into Karen Acres. It really does feel like, even after 2 weeks, that this is how it's always been. Like, we've always been a school of 390 some students. Just because I feel like the Karen Acres families have really tried to welcome the Olmsted families and other new families, in addition to our staff having events set up for them to learn about processes and so on at the beginning of the year. Our teachers have been very intentional about doing the same thing for students in their classrooms. We continue to have our morning meetings, and those are perfect opportunities for the students to build relationships with each other, having mixed seating during lunch, and even our Jayhawk flocks that we're getting ready to do, we're mixing all of those up again, because we want a balance of our new students to Karen Acres with those who are returning. The staff collaboration has been beyond I am very proud of what they've done. They've stepped up to the plate, and we've got 39 kids in one classroom right now, and a teacher who is working with a brand new teaching partner, plus another brand new teaching partner. We've got 36 kindergartners all in one, traveling everywhere they go together. There are just so many challenges that they've taken, and have just made the best of it, and have sought for solutions. They've figured a lot of things out on their own. If not, they do come during rounding and share those concerns. And I feel like I am able, and I can speak for Elise, with rounding, we are able to identify those specific things that staff need. That is the question. And because we've been doing this for so long, we do have a relationship with them that they're able to be honest with us. Not 100% probably, but we're able to refer. I was able to refer someone the other day. Here is EFR, here's our programming schedule and appointment. Having that stress, it's a real thing. no matter what a person's job is. But we are able to be responsive to staff needs, and the leadership teams were able to get a pulse on how staff are feeling and what things we can do to try to improve things. And really, that's no different than any other year. But I think the staff behaviors have really been very, very positive. And I just, it's going to be hard in 2 years when those staff have to leave. I know how it at least feels when Homestead had to dissolve. Having to say goodbye to those kids and families is going to be really, really hard.
Yeah, I just want to speak to how amazing our staff is as well. And at the end of the day, I stand in awe at how the adults are pulling together as a village. I'm just so proud to work with everybody. I'm also so proud to be given this responsibility. I'm like proud to get to know hundreds more kids and hundreds more families, and it's just the best thing ever, but also this. Super challenging in the weeds at all moments. Some things that Laura and I still are working through on a daily basis. 11 days of school. We're still making tweaks to our building schedules, moving specials up and down 5 minutes, needing to adjust lunch times, really conveying that the word of the year is flexibility. And I have been, again, so impressed that if something's not working, just the other day, we were having a dilemma with kindergarten art, and the 3 kindergarten classroom teachers came together and came up with 2 ideas that then they brought to me, and both were completely viable and better than I could have thought of on my own. So we're just working through a lot of the management type items that typically at this time of the year, I think as a principal, we're able to start shifting into like the inspirational leader that's going to move a school forward. And we're like trying to do that, but we are really still in management mode on a lot of different things, from traffic flow, working with the city, a lot of things that they're usually past us by this time. So it feels a lot different. What else do you want to share?
I know that, this may not, Steve is the one that comes in our building, and Lauren is the one who's present, but I do know that staff would welcome any board member coming in and seeing what they're doing, just, saying, hey, we just wanted to check in and say thank you, or just see what their reality is every day. I know that would be very meaningful to them, to see you during this transitional time. And they can say thank you to you also for your service. It would mean a lot.
Thank you for welcoming us into your elementary schools. I think that would be an honor to come in. And I wanted to pass along a compliment I received from a Karen Hurst parent remarking how incredibly well that they feel the traffic flow is going with regards to pick up and drop off. So I know it's not easy. You have a tough job, but you're not letting it show. And I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with your work. Thank you. You both.
You're welcome. And I'll also introduce Kara Paulson, our Dean of Students, if you haven't had a chance to meet her. Kara has been like out of this world amazing. And we really feel that the 3 of us are the dream team. We very quickly got that thing going where we can finish each other's thoughts or finish each other's sentences. And as capable as Laura and I are, Kara is really, having her on our administrative team has been, I can't thank you all enough for moving forward with the new positions, and it's been instrumental
We're still working on hiring the additional shared clerk receptionist position between the two buildings, and that's definitely a need right now. Our office staff have been outstanding, but that additional support is going to help in the health office, attendance, day-to-day things that one secretary is really challenging to be able to do, even though they do it with grace. We were given an additional custodian, swing shift custodian during the day, so thank you for that. That started last week, so our daytime custodian has additional support. So there have been a lot of responses to the needs that we have that we appreciate.
Anything else high on your list right now as far as a need, Ellen?
Can the new school be finished tomorrow?
Anything else?
Okay. Yeah.
We need, we could use some additional volunteers to help from day to day. And we've talked to parents about that, and they're saying, yep, let me know what the needs are and we will jump in and help. And we've already had parent presence a lot every day in the lunchroom. But the additional support, additional supervision, because we don't have those gen ed hours to, have them all day long every day of the week. That is one thing we definitely use, more volunteer support.
And does that go for both your elementary school? Okay.
Definitely. We're working on that, but we still feel there's some gaps.
So one foot in front of the other. And we're happy to give you really updates anytime you need them, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in tonight
You bet.
Thank you for
and everything
all
else.
the
you're doing.
extra work.
Thank you.
And welcome, Kara.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to quickly point out to the board, I shared some information that I acquired from the middle school, high school, and of course we had the elementary numbers. Not only looking at the numbers, but it was actually a conversation I had with Catherine that, there was an article about one of the schools in Des Moines. It was pretty alarming to have 44, 48 students in a classroom. I wanted to give you an idea where we were at. At the secondary levels, middle school, high school, we have several rooms that are at 30. But I think, was it 100 or something total? Basically is over. No core classes are over 30. The elementaries are all within those numbers, except in those two buildings where sometimes they have two teachers covering 3 sections. Then they might be over our board-approved numbers. But I wanted to give you an update on that and to be aware in case people are asking you, hey, are you guys being impacted as well? Yes, they're very full, but we're not at an alarming level, even given the situation that we have.
I have a question that's going to show my ignorance a little bit about the way that class sizes work. All limits are set by the board policy, or are there additional state limits for class
The
sizes?
state does not really have them.
Really? Okay.
These were just ones I know a couple years ago. We were looking for guidance because we were bumping up to the numbers and like, at what point do we either get a new teacher, if we have room, do we use an associate, do we move kids around? So I was looking for a little guidance.
When that article came out, a lot of people asked me, like, how is that legal? I think there's a perception out there that there is a state limit.
There's not. And again, the biggest challenge with those numbers, especially at the secondary level and even middle school, those are individual classrooms. It's very likely that even some of those in their situations with 44 or 48, that they may have a section of 20 or a section of 14 because it's a scheduling problem. When you offer so many opportunities, kids it has to fall in order, and that just doesn't always happen. So if you were to look at those numbers, I went back and read that article today, a lot of those classes, including those that seem really high, their averages were between 24 and 28, if I remember right, reading the article. So again, the big picture is it just happened, those sections are really high, but their averages are not.
Thanks, that was proactive of you.
Thank you.
That's proactive.
Okay. Any other questions on the enrollment? Which probably isn't stable because people are still unaccounted for.
Those numbers could change as much as 60 or 70.
When do we submit our official number?
The official date Semi-official is October 1st, it's considered official count day. And then basically as a district, we have until the 15th to go through and work with each other through the duplicate numbers.
Okay.
Okay. So, may I have a motion to bring forward the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Do you have any questions or discussion? There's quite a few items in there. You want me to cut it up? No? Okay. Okay, is that long enough on time?
Did anybody go through bills?
Yes, Tanya and I went through bills this morning. I really appreciate her training. If anybody would like to assist me, I'm happy to train, or Tanya was the most excellent trainer. One thing, just I'll let the board know, Tanya noticed a charge for, how much was that, Steve, on the radios? Do you remember? Mary Beth?
I think it was 128.
Okay, so we had a $128,000 charge that we were a bit surprised to see on the radios, but we had already approved that charge last year. And what Tanya and I had not realized was that this was a rollout charge. It didn't, we didn't pay it all at once, and there was some retrofitting and things that needed to be done. So if anybody was alarmed by that large bill, I just wanted to rest assured that that was.
Those are like the secure.
Our emergency
Those,
response.
okay, yeah.
They're the two-way radios. We've got 3 different levels of radios. One for basically building administrators, one for backup, and then the C radios are the little workhorses. The rollout last year, we needed to get repeaters in all the buildings. I thought we had every radio accounted for, but just like we can't get all the kids counted, we can't seem to get all the radios counted. So we'll have a firm number probably here in the next couple of weeks as everybody gets them handed out. And then if I see anybody with an old one, I know, okay, they need a new radio. Should be a fairly small deal. And then over Christmas break, everyone is going to turn in every single radio, and we're going to flip the switch to make them all digital, which gives us some more opportunities for communication. So.
Any other questions? Clarifications? Okay. So, you okay?
I said thank you to Stacy for doing it.
Yeah, thank you for going in at 7 a.m.
No problem.
Good on you. And Tanya. Okay, so all in favor of adopting the consent agenda as written?
Aye.
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 Okay, can we do that all together? 1, 2, 3.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? Okay. I have nothing else. Do you? Anyone else have something to bring up? Are you impressed? 7:30.
Good show.
Okay. So
2%. That payout's right, we're 2% done, right? Elise, how do you go?
That's not helpful.
Not really, but we feel better.
I'm going to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. 7:31.
Being fabricated somewhere, but they on that job site.